Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about astrology and astrology charts in general for people who might be thinking of getting an astrology chart done, or if they are looking at an astrology chart themselves. And I want to talk about what astrology is and what astrology isn't, and what astrology can and what astrology cannot do, just so that people have got more knowledge and awareness, and their expectations might be a bit more realistic of what they may be getting. Now, here is an example of an astrology chart, and this is the chart of anyone at any place or time on a certain day. So this is representing the astronomy and the position of the planets in the different star signs of any particular day when a person is born. And for a lot of people, when they first look at a birth chart and they are making sense of that, the usual thing to think, and this is also the same for newly qualified astrologers as well, that the astrology chart represents personality traits. And that is only true to a certain extent. The astrology chart represents more than that, but in regard to personality traits, it really has more to do with tendencies of human behaviour rather than set personality traits. So if somebody wanted to know more about their personality traits in a more defined way, they would be better off getting a psychological survey done, because astrology is not as definite or as fixed as that. It will give general personality tendencies. And the other thing about an astrology chart as well is the predictive side. Astrology is not all that good at prediction. It is good at indicating trends, and especially good at indicating trends over longer periods of time, as in periods of history or periods of several years, rather than pinpointing accurate prediction for certain times. So I wanted to point out those two things because they are the two main things that people expect from an astrology chart. They expect a chart to represent them as a person, which it actually doesn't. And they also expect an astrology chart to be able to predict things. So what I'm mainly trying to say here is that astrology itself is a very precise metaphysical science in the calculation of the planetary positions. That is very exact, and it needs to be precise. But the interpretation of a chart is far more fluid than that. So as far as prediction, for example, if you want something accurately predicted, or you want a likelihood or probability of something, you might be better off using another form of divination, because astrology is not really used for prediction by most Western astrologers anymore. Most Western astrologers have moved away from the prediction side of astrology, and a lot of astrologers today have also moved away from the personality trait perspective as well, because that is seen as fairly one-dimensional, and most astrologers who have been working with astrology for a long time, after interpreting hundreds of charts, in other words, astrologers who are not newly trained or newly qualified, begin to realise pretty soon that the astrology chart has got more to do with the soul's journey and with spirituality. So, in other words, another way as well of putting this is the planets and their interaction with human behaviour is to do with energy and soul potential rather than set personality traits and accurate prediction. So I think that's the best way I could put that. I'm going to refer to a good astrology resource book at the end of this video so that people could read a book on basic astrology and get more of an idea of this from a soul potential and spiritual perspective. And the other thing I wanted to say as well is I hear a lot of people talking about their sun sign, moon sign, and their rising sign or ascendant sign, those three in particular. And something I want to point out about that is because astrology is such a precise metaphysical science and how that is calculated, if you have your birth time incorrect by only 1 minute, that is going to make a big difference in what star sign any of those are actually placed in. So if you think your sun sign is on the cusp, and by the way, with the cusp, it doesn't mean that you belong to both signs. It means that you belong to either one or the other, and an astrologer would help you to find out which one that is. And if you have your birth time incorrect by only 1 minute, it could make a very big difference to your rising sign, for example. So you could believe that you have a sun sign, a moon sign, or a rising sign in 3 particular signs, and at least one of them would likely or probably be wrong, because only in 1 minute's difference, it made a difference to that sign. So I wanted to mention that as well. And I suppose the other thing I wanted to mention as well is the idea of combining astrology with other divination. I've spoken about this before on my previous videos on tarot and astrology, so if people would like to have a look at those again, there's very detailed comments on my first video why that is not a good idea. And I'm just going to conclude for now with this book called Astrology and Consciousness by Olesky. And this is a great basic book on astrology from a spiritual or soul potential perspective. And this book is really worth getting to give a more realistic idea and a more holistic idea of what astrology really is. So I'll put the details below the video, and I hope that's helpful to people. And I think I'll probably do some further videos about astrology so that people will get more of an idea of what astrology really is. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.